Joyce, good morning. As we all know, a third defendant has now been added to the Trump classified documents case. 56-year-old Carlos de Oliveira, described in the indictment as the Mar-a-Lago property manager. What do these new charges and this new co-defendant mean for the trial timeline?
So the trial timeline shouldn't be altered, but of course it may be, and we can be almost certain that Trump will try to because delay is his game. But these new charges against Trump, it's only one additional count of documents retention. Those facts were alleged in the original indictment, so there's no real rationale for delay. And the judge has set a time schedule for trial that includes a gracious plenty of time for this new defendant to get up to speed. He's charged in a few counts. They're straightforward. They don't involve classified material. So in, the real world of prosecution, there would not be a delay. But here, we'll have to wait and see.
Hey, Joyce, just as a quick follow-up, does Donald Trump have to be rearraigned? Meaning, does he have to enter a plea concerning the brand new charges that we've seen in this superseding indictment?
Right. So he may come in, but it's merely a formality. And that practice can vary by district. I don't think we'll see him physically come in.
So, Joyce, there was some new reporting that just came out this morning from the Washington Post. I think that you and I both were tweeting or threading about it on social media. It says Donald Trump's Save America PAC spent more than $40 million on legal fees and costs in the first half of 2023 to defend Trump, his advisors, and others. And what really stuck out to me, though, was the fact that Walt Nauta, who's a co-defendant, and the new kind of allegations concerning a Trump employee number 4 named Yuscil Taveras, they actually shared a lawyer in Stan Woodward. A legal conflict, an ethical conflict arose, and so actually a second lawyer not being paid by the PAC was brought in to provide legal advice to Taveras, who then spoke to federal investigators. I mean, Joyce, this reminds me of Cassidy Hutchinson, who we know through the 1-6 Select Committee's process had counsel paid by Donald Trump's PAC or Donald Trump's people. But then when she finally got her own lawyers, she provided damning powerful testimony during the course of those hearings. It may not be illegal, but clearly we're seeing some ethical lines perhaps being crossed here. So how concerned should, the American public be that this PAC just keeps on pumping out fees to pay for all of these lawyers and that they're all represented by, I'm going to call Trump lawyers?
So, Katie, I think you draw exactly the right line here. It may not be illegal for Trump's PAC to pay for legal representation, not just for co-defendants, but for witnesses. But it's the kind of behavior that you see in organized crime cases. You see it with mules for cartels or drug organizations. It's the sort of thing that gets the hackles up on the back of a prosecutor's neck and makes you wonder about whether you need to begin to engage with the court on the process of determining on the record whether or not there's a conflict of interest. I think we'll see prosecutors do this. And while making these payments may not violate campaign finance laws per se, there does seem to be an interest. There certainly was in the January 6th committee to take a hard look at whether or not there's some sort of fraud going on with fundraising, whether people are being told, as they were after January 6th, that one thing is the purpose of the fundraising. In that case, it was fighting what Trump referred to as the fraudulent results of the election. And so people thought that they were donating for that purpose. In reality, that money was lining Trump's pockets in the form of paying for legal bills. It sounds like Jack Smith may be looking at something similar here.
Joyce, we all know that Trump's legal team met with special counsel Jack Smith in his office on Thursday morning. We were all waiting to see if a 1-6 related indictment was going to drop that day. But conspicuously absent before that superseding indictment was filed was any post by Donald Trump on Truth Social. Now, given that is not a bellwether of accuracy, we know how flawed that can be. But what does it tell you that there was zero post by Donald Trump before the superseding indictment dropped? Does that mean that there's zero communication between Jack Smith and his, as in Trump's legal team on the Mar-a-Lago case before things like that happened?
Hard to read the tea leaves here, but I would be surprised if Jack Smith's team had signaled that they planned on dropping a superseding indictment. They're not obligated to. There's no strategic reason for DOJ to do that. You know, in a perfect world, this would be a signal that Trump's lawyers have finally gotten through to him and said, you've got to stop making public statements. You're just digging yourself in deeper. But of course, we know that's not the case here because Trump has continued to use social media. He's continued to talk about the case. The opening segment you played with Marissa's reporting was Trump, in essence, you know, saying before he's even the nominee in 2024 that he expects that that election will be tainted with fraud, certainly in the form of these prosecutions, if not other cases. So we see his inability to remain quiet.
Well, you and I remain on indictment watch, so we'll see what happens. That grand jury comes back on Tuesday in D.C. for the 1-6 investigation. Fani Willis has her own investigation going. You and I can hang out in the chicken coop, and we can count the chickens like the indictments as they come along. Joyce Vance, you're looking very Barbie nice this morning in your beautiful, beautiful colors. It's always so good to see you, Joyce Vance.
Thanks, Katie.